We're at Auburn University interviewing students on the importance of frogs and their significance in the environment. We're testing to see how much knowledge the common person has on the subject. Let's go! What is herpetology?
Herpetology is the study of reptiles.
Do you think frogs are significant to our environment?
Yeah, because they help out in containing insect population. Not as much as spiders do, I don't think, but they still help out with insect containing.
What's your favorite amphibian?
Probably a snake, but I don't have one. I do want one though.
What is herpetology?
I have no idea.
Do you know the significance of frogs on our environment?
Not really.
And do you know if our frog population is increasing or decreasing?
I think it's decreasing.
And do you have a favorite amphibian?
Probably. No, I don't know. I'm afraid to say something that's not an amphibian.
It's okay.
Like a lizard.
Okay.
Like a gecko. They're pretty cool.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
What's your favorite amphibian?
Turtle, no doubt.
Thank you. Do you know the significance of frogs in the environment?
Definitely not.
No. And do you know if frog populations are increasing or decreasing?
I'm gonna assume decreasing.
Yeah, decreasing.
But I don't know why.
Thank you. And do you guys have a favorite amphibian?
Fish. It's not. Turtle.
Okay, thank you.
Herpetology, which is the study of reptiles and amphibians, has shined light on the important role that frogs play in our environment. Their importance can be seen throughout the centuries, as they are present in ancient civilizations and are symbols in other cultures. Nowadays, important medical advances have been discovered thanks to frogs and toads. Frogs are unique in the sense that they serve as both prey and predator. They can be found in moist habitats, such as the Forest Ecology Preserve found on Auburn University's campus. Today, we are interviewing Dr. David Laurencio. He is the collections manager for the Auburn Museum of Natural History.
What got you interested in the conservation of frogs and toads?
I've been a fan of frogs for many, many years. When I was growing up, I grew up in Houston, in Texas, and we had Gulf Coast toads hopping all over our neighborhood. So from then, I was kind of interested in what they did and how they did it. My parents never really discouraged me grabbing or bringing them home, and so from there it kind of grew into other species. And then when I got to college, I kind of thought about doing this professionally. And then the conservation of the group just kind of came out of that.
So what is Frog Watch and how are you a part of it?
So Frog Watch is a national citizen science project that is really a listening project, although it's called Frog Watch. Volunteers come out and they listen to frogs calling at wetlands, and they record what's calling and some data about the wetlands, and that goes into a big database. The program's been around for 20 years. This is the 21st year of data collection, and that program has amassed a huge database of frog calls and data associated with those frog calls. And those allow us to ask and answer kind of big scale questions related to what frogs are doing, when they're doing it, and kind of how they're doing it. And then as our landscape use changes, as our climate changes, these kind of large data sets allow us to ask questions related to long-term conservation goals.
Why is it important for people in our community to become more aware of the declining frog population?
Well, the frogs are important in many senses. Of course, I'm very biased, but they're important parts of our ecosystem. At a very basic level, they eat things and they are eaten. They also provide a link, since they're partially aquatic in their life and partially terrestrial. They're an important link between those two systems in terms of thinking about energy flow. But also, being amphibians, they have skin that is smooth and moist and also permeable. So they do neat things like breathe through their skin, and they can actually take water in through their skin. But they're also very susceptible to any chemical or pollutants that get into their environment. And because it goes right to their skin, the impacts are pretty immediate. So they're kind of looked at kind of as a canary in the coal mine, in the sense of they give us an idea of general environmental health, especially in our wetlands, which are very important for many reasons. Because of that, knowing kind of how they're doing and what they're doing gives us a good kind of lens into the quality of our environments in either rural, urban, or suburban settings.
How can the people watching get involved?
Okay, so Frog Watch, as I mentioned, is about 20 years old, and it's set up with a system of chapters. So we have a chapter here at Auburn at the Auburn University Museum of Natural History, but it is one of many throughout the United States. And to be involved, basically, volunteers would go through a volunteer training workshop. Well, they're going to learn a little bit about frogs, about amphibians, about wetlands, and then about the protocol. In order to make all the data comparable throughout the years and throughout the United States, the way the data are collected are through a standardized protocol. So during that training workshop, you kind of learn that you go to a site, how long to listen, what other data to record. And then once you have gone through that workshop, then you can kind of select a wetland and then go listen at your leisure. We hope often, but really when you can. And the neat thing is, you learn a little bit about frogs, you learn a little about wetlands, and then if you actually go and volunteer, you get to kind of go out in nature. And in some cases, at a time, which is after sunset, at a time where a lot of folks aren't out and in nature. And so it's a really neat way of kind of connecting with our local natural environment in some really interesting times.
In your opinion, what is the greatest threat to frogs and toads?
So land use changes, habitat destruction tends to be the number one cause of decline for many, not just frogs and toads, but obviously if you don't have appropriate habitat for a given species, it cannot exist. So there's always that. But again, being amphibians, frogs kind of have a particular set of things that can be detrimental to them, including environmental pollutants. But then there's things that we don't know, right? As our climate changes, a lot of frogs key off of rainfall, temperature, to decide when they're going to call, and males call to attract females, so this is all part of their reproduction. So if we get warmer or drier or wetter, this can actually shift when these frogs are going to be reproducing. To what effect, we don't know yet, but these kind of long-term data sets will actually let us look at those kind of questions. Conceivably, you might have species move north if the weather gets warmer, or shift during the year when they call. And if they shift to when there's no water on the ground, this could be obviously bad for frogs, which need water for their eggs, or it could give them a longer reproductive period. We'll have to see.
And what are some ways that we can support local populations of frogs and toads other than being involved in Frog Watch?
So wetlands are crucial to amphibians, both frogs and salamanders. And we're very lucky here in Alabama and in the Southeast in general to have a myriad of species. The diversity of both salamanders and frogs is incredibly high because we have a lot of water. Rivers, streams, ponds, lakes, and just wetlands in general. We have a lot of flooded forests, for instance, around the Auburn area, especially as we go toward Tuskegee. We have these wonderful tracts of forests that flood, and these provide great habitat for frogs and toads. So making those habitats available and keeping them in kind of pristine shape, or at least good enough to where they're not detrimental to things that come in. In some cases, keeping fish out of certain ponds are beneficial to certain species of frogs. And then generally keeping our environment clean. Again, because of their permeable skin, pollutants can be very, very deadly to amphibians. So maintaining kind of clean, nice wetlands is really important. So anything we can do to kind of help that is great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Frogwatch is impacting toads and frogs around you. Be a part of the conservation of these amazing creatures. If you're a student or faculty member at Auburn University, consider becoming a member of our local chapter. For more ways and information on how to become involved with Frogwatch USA, please visit their website, www.aza.org, or search Frogwatch USA in your browser.